Hello and welcome back to the Comfort Zone podcast. I'm April, and this is a podcast where we talk about situations, stories, and experiences where we've gone out of our comfort zone in a comfortable environment. And today we are joined with my friend Aaron Parales. Aaron Parales, right?
Aaron.
Yeah, I know I said Aaron because
But I mean, if you're like American, you can say like Aaron.
Aaron.
Aaron. Like the
Aaron. So, Aaron. um, he has a super cool job, and we're gonna get into it. But basically, he's in the world of motorsports. Before we get into that, I just wanted to ask a little bit about you and your background. So, I know you're from Colombia. Were you born and raised in Colombia?
Yeah. Basically, like a way I have like my little elevator pitch is like I was born in Colombia but raised all around the world.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah, it's kind of like the situation where I was born in Colombia, lived there for a big chunk of my life, but I was constantly traveling either for vacations or for school. I lived a lot in the States, and well, mainly in my young part of my life,
Yeah.
I was always in the North America, Central America, South America aspect. But a few years ago, like 6 years ago, I decided to book a ticket out of a sudden to Spain. I already had my passport, given that my part of my family is Spanish.
That's awesome. That saves you a lot of bureaucracy.
I know, I've heard a lot about it, and especially your TikToks.
I know.
I'm not excited to live that.
It sucks.
But yeah, I basically took the risk, bought the ticket 6 months in advance, started working a lot and like just saving up money. And a week before moving, I told my parents and I told all of my friends, like, listen, I'm leaving for Spain, and yeah, this is like a definite choice that I'm gonna make.
What made you choose Spain?
Honestly, just the passport. I think
Sure.
it was like the easiest part because like especially when you're moving to a new countries, I think like you got to look out for your unfair advantages.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, like a lot of people have different skills, or like they're very good with people or whatnot. Like you have different types of skills that complement you to a
Yeah.
place. And for me, the easiness of, well, especially Spain economy, the language, and that it was a completely new environment because I hadn't come to Europe before.
Yeah.
I thought like all of that was gonna be very helpful. I had a few friends that I knew back from Colombia, party friends. But yeah, I already had a bit of context, so that I thought that was like the easiest choice.
So I didn't know that you went to school in the U.S. Like, what part of your life did you spend in the U.S.?
Kind of like a bit of high school chunk.
Yeah? Where in the U.S.?
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh,
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of Latinos in Florida.
Yeah, but I feel like Fort Lauderdale is like that part where there's the least amount of Latinos, in the whole Florida area.
And how was that experience going to high school in the U.S.?
It was interesting, I gotta say, because like you kind of see it in the movies that it's like very stereotypical, and you don't feel like that's gonna be like that. But then you
Then it
actually
is.
go to the schools, and
This
it's
is
like
so-
this is Mean Girls.
This is so funny because, like, literally the last interview I did, I had a friend, Lily, she's from Mexico, and then she moved to the US for high school as well, and she said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my god, it's like the movies. And kind of similar for me because I kind of stopped my schooling in Canada when I was 9, and then I went back when I was 15, so like grade 10. And I was like, oh, this really is, like, you have your lockers and all of that.
No, and I feel like the people is what makes
They
it
had
very
cliques.
interesting. Exactly.
The jocks.
Cliques, the jocks. It's very interesting how you fit into that equation, especially since I wasn't there like a whole bunch because I was again traveling a lot. It was very weird to find like my group of friends.
It's so interesting because, in Canada, there are a lot of Colombians. And in my high school, there was like a Colombian clique.
No way.
Yeah, I swear to God. Like,
But-
all of them would just all the Colombians and Latinos, they would hang out with each other.
I gotta be honest, it's like also I've also been kind of very reserved to myself most of my life. Like since I've always thought about like careers and goals based, I'm very driven by goals.
I can tell.
So for example, I like making connections wasn't a big chunk of my life before. So, for example, I went to school, went right back home, and started like studying or working in some stuff. At the time, I got very into photography and whatnot. So I was like binge watching YouTube videos, Peter McKinnon at all its force, all of like the big
Yeah.
stars on that sense on YouTube at the time, and yeah, I was like constantly educating myself in different aspects because I wasn't really good in school, but I just liked the things that I liked, and I
Yeah.
invested time on that. In university, I was the same. I just went to class and went right back, so it was very difficult to form relationships. But it's not in a bad way because I
Yeah.
preferred it that way, right?
That's interesting because like I kind of was similar. I was like that also in high school, because I moved like in grade 10. So my first year I absolutely hated it. I hated living in Canada. I didn't really feel like making friends. I would study, go home. And I think like also in university, I kind of like I had my friends and I didn't really branch out and make other friends. And that's one thing that I kind of regret not doing in university because I find like in university, I wish I like made more friends in my degree because I studied finance. So I wish I made more friends who were also studying finance because like that's kind of like how you find jobs in your field
But
if you're
at
studying.
what age did you like move around countries?
So I was born in the Philippines. I moved to Canada when I was 3, went back to the Philippines when I was 9, and then went back to Canada when I was 15.
Okay.
And then I finished high school and university in Canada, and then I came here when I was 23.
Right. Is it I feel like when you move a lot there's kind of like a mentality that you get yourself on, and I'm not saying this to piss off anybody that
No,
hasn't moved before, but I feel like when you move a lot you gain a certain maturity that you don't have
100%.
when you just stay in the same place all the time, and that makes you like very much self-driven, or at least that was my case. So it was very for me the aspect of always being unique and
Mm-hmm.
like just doing whatever you like and not falling into peer pressure or whatnot was super
Yeah.
important. So yeah, it was like that's why I say like I didn't really care a lot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
although I do agree like making those connections earlier on, and it's like a phrase that a cousin of mine generally tells me is like you gotta make as much connections as possible in those early ages like high school or
Mm-hmm.
university, because at the end of the day who's gonna be behind of the counter when you're
Exactly.
trying to solve an issue or you're trying to find somebody that is a specialist in a field.
Also, I think like it is easier to make friends when you're younger. Like making friends as an adult kind of sucks. I don't know. I don't know if like I mean like we have friends. But
Yeah,
like it's harder to make like those friends, like from
right.
childhood or high school or university. And in the Philippines, everybody says like your high school friends are your friends for life. And I truly see it in like my friends in the Philippines. They really like have.
Man, is that I do agree with that until a certain extent, but the thing is like for example in my case, um I've been changing so much throughout the
Mm-hmm.
years that even like with friends that were super close to me in high school or even university, now we don't see a common ground in a certain
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like I feel like everything's about growth, and it's not no judgment to those people or to myself, you know. It's more
Yeah.
like sometimes you build relationships and it's easier in high school because you're in the same place, but
Yeah.
as a freelancer for example I've learned a lot like putting yourself in a position to meet people is the most important part. Going
Mm-hmm.
out to networking events, going out to the same gym, going out to the same bar or
Exactly.
pub or whatever, it's very important to actually like build yourself a routine of, because like if people see you in the same spot all the time they will want to talk to you, but if they
Exactly.
just see you once they will be like this is a random guy, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, speaking of networking, well, we for our podcast, I always put on a little face mask. I got you a honey one. Both of these are from a Korean shop called the Face Shop, so we trust the Koreans. Mine is pomegranate for firming.
You
So
gotta teach me how to do this.
okay, it's super easy. You just open it and it's like it comes as like a little white mask with a serum, and you open it, like you unfold it, and then you just put it on your face. You'll see where your eyes and your nose and your mouth go when you open it
Oh
up.
man, this
Look,
feels like it's gonna be so relaxing.
honestly, it is. And this is like my favorite thing to do. I go through these like, ooh, mine smells nice. The pomegranate smells great.
Trying to
Interesting.
figure out
There, you got it. You got it. You're good. So
I think I'm
why
gonna break it.
you can do it? Don't worry. But we do trust in the Koreans. I've been super into Korean skincare,
Is
and
there a specific like way you gotta put this on?
just put it on your face. You see the eye holes and the nose
Yeah.
hole in the mouth, and then you just kind of like here. Let me help.
Okay, amazing.
There we go. Hey, we got it. So now that you got your face mask on, why don't you?
Is my nose very big for this?
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
I'm
why
looking good, right?
Yeah. Why don't we share how we met?
Yeah, it's been quite interesting. I feel like TikTok has built a lot of relationships.
I think so.
far.
TikTok has built like at least like 3 of my very good friends right now, or more.
At least, like for example, we have like in common Julia, which, if I'm not wrong, that's how we met. Actually. Oh no!
No.
Oh no! I'm so sorry.
Nah. We
Breaking
met.
the fourth wall.
No. So we met. Well, I remember that you messaged me on LinkedIn.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm so like.
No. But this is like the coincidence. So, Aaron messaged me on LinkedIn, networking, about a position at a company, anyways. But that's how we met, and then we found out that
But it's because I had seen you on TikTok, and for example, our friend Julia, I met her through TikTok.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's such a coincidence because you messaged me probably like a week after Julia messaged me, and then I found out that you guys also knew each other, and I'm like, did they talk? Or like, is this like I'm literally crying on the internet that I can't find a job and everybody knows.
But it's very interesting because I feel like I'm the type of person that when I see like it's everybody's on social media right now, and if it's very, I think like for some people it's very difficult to actually know who's good at social media and who's just good at portraying being in social media. And you were super like authentic, and at the moment working at that company, I actually like did see a lot of potential. And it's very funny because I messaged you on LinkedIn. I think because I saw a post of you talking about like your experience finding a job, and I was like, okay, so let's give her an opportunity because you look pretty good and you understand social media, which is very difficult. At that time I was more focused on the social aspect, like social media world. But yeah, it was basically that. And then I went out to lunch with Julia, and she mentioned you. She was like, yeah, Julia, like April asked me about you. And I was like, yeah, but we're friends, right?
Yeah. No, it was wild because like I was like, oh my god, they knew each other. Then we met, but and here it is. Like
We
I
already kind of knew from each other.
I knew of you, but I didn't know you.
I also knew of you. You were the influencer friend.
So like, so officially we met because Aaron messaged me on LinkedIn and we found out we had a mutual friend and we hung out, me, you, and Julia. But then I started talking to one of my good friends here in Madrid. We've been friends like for a while. Also, we met because of TikTok. And I was telling her, yeah, I met this cool guy. He's into like motorsport. He loves F1. He's Colombian. And she's like, wait.
Hold on.
She's like, hold on.
But you knew about me before that.
She
like,
mentioned you.
Okay, yeah.
She mentioned you. But like, I don't think I ever saw a photo. I just like, she just mentioned you. And then she pulled up her Instagram. She's like, is it this guy? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, bro, this is the guy who took my book. like this is the guy I went on some dates on. And like,
great book. Just let me tell you that. Probably the best horror because I'm so in love with horror, and she recommended that amazing book. But yeah, basically it's your friend Lizzie.
Yeah.
Which was actually a big coincidence because I think like it was that we met on like a dating app.
Yeah.
And then it was very weird because like we actually didn't speak a lot, but we follow each other on social media. And there was like, I was traveling in Colombia, and it was very weird because I was like, I'm super attracted to this girl, you know? And it was like, well, I messaged her literally that, hey, listen, I find you super attractive. Let's go and hang out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that. So forward.
Well, I am quite forward. Although
no,
that was
like
a bit of a mess.
No, but that's refreshing. But I think it was like really funny. Just like long story short, didn't work out.
Yeah, turned her into a lesbian.
Yeah, so how does it feel that after dating my friend Lizzie, now she's like fully a lesbian?
No, but honestly, like I found that about myself. Like this is gonna sound super depressing for some people, but I'm actually proud because it feels like charity work. I feel like every time I date someone and it doesn't work out, instantly as soon as we break it off, they find like their connection for like
Stop! I felt
universal
the
connection.
same.
No,
When
but
I was
honestly, it's
dating, I felt the
impressive.
same.
Every single girl I've dated, as soon as we break it off, like give it 3 weeks to a month, they find their love of their life.
But to make you feel better,
No, I'm fine.
No,
I'm
like,
happy.
no,
I'm
no.
doing charity work.
To make you feel even better, Lizzie definitely has a type because her girlfriend is Colombian with brown hair.
No way, she's Colombian. No way.
So same copy paste, just different gender.
Nice, beautiful.
But yeah, so that's how we met. And then I remember Lizzie telling me about you. And of course, I followed you on social media. And when we connected with Julia, you have a super cool job. You're a freelancer. You started in social media. Now I'm assuming you're more into production.
Only photography and videography. I love the production work. Sometimes feel like a creative director, which
I think
generally
you are.
I think like most of the people would call me that really because I don't only record and edit the videos. I form part of all of the process in terms of creativity. Like very recently, yeah, you mentioned that I work with motorsport. I'm currently in a very loving relationship with a team called MP Motorsport,
Very
which
nice.
they are, in my opinion, they're one of the best supporting teams. Supporting meaning like there's F1 and then there's all this categories that a driver has to go through to get to F1.
I see.
Which is Formula 2, Formula 3, Formula 4, which is divided by location. So, for example, Spanish F4, British F4, French F4. It divides itself. Italian F4. The two best ones are Italian and Spanish. A lot of people can debate that, but in my opinion, the best drivers come out of those two. And also Formula Regional, mostly known as FRECA. So they all go in like this pyramid, and below all of that, there's karting. Because every driver enters through karting, and then they go through the single seaters like that. So they start with Formula 4, then they go to FRECA or Eurocup, which are different types of cars in every stage. Then you go to F3, F2, and finally F1. Fun fact about it, for all of those categories, a driver doesn't get paid. They have to pay to drive.
Okay, so that's why everybody's rich.
Exactly.
Or get sponsors. They have to be like super talented to get sponsors. That's wild. Didn't know that.
And it's very interesting because like I feel like motorsport in itself it cannot be compared to any other sport. And you mentioned, for example, the part of everybody's rich. Yes. But it is a very expensive sport. For each level, the price just gets higher and higher. I've met drivers. This is not at all MP because I've met drivers in other teams that have told me for F2, for example, to drive with the worst team, with the worst type of performance, you have to pay at least like 3, 4, 5 million euros, which is insane. The prices just keep going up and up and up.
That's crazy.
And think about the fact that they don't get paid a single cent until they reach F1.
If they reach F1 too.
If they reach F1.
That's wild. I didn't know that about that sport. Because I know like one of the only like not super rich people in F1 right now, but came from more a humble background is like Lewis Hamilton.
Right.
So I'm assuming someone like Lewis Hamilton had to get a lot of sponsorships. I mean, clearly he is very talented.
Yeah.
7? 8-time world champion?
7. Let's not name 8 or...
Well, kind
I mean, like, to be honest, the latest driver of that whole bunch of group that didn't came from a rich background was Esteban Ocon.
Oh, true. Yeah.
The thing is, like, there's different types of ways that you can get sponsorship. Either through external companies. Most of the time, you'll see that drivers from their nationality, companies from that nationality sponsor the driver. But also, there's a huge factor, which is driver academy. So all of the F1 teams have their own academy, youth academy, the drivers that they deem to be the best at having a shot at Formula 1. So they sponsor them in different types of way. It can be monetary, can be facilitating the types of training, because it's not only getting into the car and literally buying the 4 wheels, because you need to buy every set of wheels that you
Really?
use, exactly, which is not really that expensive if you really think about it. Like for a set of tires that will last you at least 16 laps, it can be like 300 euros. You would expect it's more.
Yeah.
Personally, I think,
I mean, 300 euros is still rent.
And
But,
well,
like,
think about the fact that they waste, like they use at least like 4 to 6 sets in the lower categories, per race.
that's crazy, the scale, because, like, F1, I think, like, obviously, like, F1 is getting so big right now because of Drive to Survive. Everybody's really getting into it. But, like, this world just seems so exclusive.
I mean, what I was going to mention about the sport is like it's not only the part of the money that comes into it, but the politics are very important. We were talking about networking, and networking is a huge factor. Who you know, who you kind of, I hate to say it this way, but who do you ally with? Because there's several camps within the sport in itself, and if you find good relationships within those certain camps, you have a better possibility. And this applies to all of the jobs within motorsport, for drivers, for content creators like myself, for communications managers, for anybody, engineers, all of that jazz. It gives you like a certain perspective of where can you reach out and who can you reach out to and what are the possibilities you can get. Of course, there are certain things like you can change camps, of course, and if you prove to be very good at or want a certain career, you can definitely do that, because at the end of the day, I would call it I think it's Peaky Blinders that had this quote, is like they're a big family within punching distance,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. It's a
Yeah.
difficult industry, I'm not gonna lie, and I feel like, at least in my position as a content creator, which literally is being a photographer and videographer for teams, drivers, and whatnot, it's all about managing the relationships and understanding what type of relationships you can make out of it.
So how did you break into this industry?
Honestly, luck.
Really?
Yeah, and coming back to Julia, Julia actually, like, it was very funny because we were working together at an agency before, and we went to a co-working once, and she asked me like, what's your dream job? And I was like, I think like making content for a Formula One team. A week later, she had referred me to a guy in another agency called Light Bros, which is decent here in Spain, and the owner, Forrest Back and Baker, called me and said like, hey, listen, I have a Formula E team, winning team. Do you want to be part of this? Because I feel like you're one of the people in Spain that knows the most about motorsport at the moment.
So you started with Formula E.
Exactly. Wow. It was interesting, but I think, like, again, it's kind of like luck, because to trace you back and to give you a bit of context of why was that Formula E experience so important is because I was doing content and also being the social media manager of Venturi Racing. At that time, it was the season 8 in Formula E, and I got very lucky to be working with huge personalities in the motorsport world.
And you made an impression.
Well, I think like it was a learning curve, because I feel like being in motorsport is not for everybody, and you gotta learn how to be there. It's not something that comes natural when being there. And a lot of it has to do with authenticity. If you're just there, and connections, of course, if you're just there to do the work, you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta make those connections. And I worked with Susie Wolf. She is one of the biggest personalities, female personalities within motorsport.
Toto Wolff's wife.
Exactly.
Team principal of Mercedes. Love them.
Yeah. I mean, in that case, Susie was the team principal of the team. And beside her was Jerome D'Ambrosio, huge F1 driver. He didn't do very well in F1, but he did very well in FE. Big personality within the motorsport world. Two drivers that have sensational repertoire. With Eda Mortara, who is referred as Mr. Macau. Macau is one of the most important races when it comes to development. It's like the Monaco, but of Asia.
Well, we love that.
Well, it is, It's just like literally the casinos of the jazz. Like, it is.
Have you ever been?
No, but I wanna.
I've been.
Oh my god,
But once, like when I was like, I think I was 14.
Is it like Vegas that isn't
I went to
really
the
fun?
Venetian, so it was like
Okay.
super cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that saves it a lot.
Yeah.
But he's won that race. I'm gonna say 4 times. Probably less than that, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, no worries.
But he's referred to Mr. Macau because he won it a lot of time. Huge repertoire of racing, GT, all
And you
of that
worked
jazz.
with him.
With him as a driver, and on the other side I had Lucas Di Grassi, again F1 driver, champion of Formula E, huge personality in South America. So I think like all of the people that I was involved with in Venturi Racing, they're all people that are incredible at what they do. Even it's not so relevant, but the people behind the team manager, Delphine Biscay, now is the manager of F1 Academy. Their main mechanic, Gautier, I don't remember his last name, but his name was Gautier. He also does the technical aspects in terms of Formula One Academy. So like all the personalities within the team, they were huge. It was like such a good moment. And personally, I give credit that to Susie Wolf because she's a person that surrounds herself with very high performance people.
I love that.
You know?
We love a boss.
I mean,
Boss
it's like,
bitch.
I think she would hate if you called her a girl boss or a boss. But like, I just feel like she's incredibly strategic. Her best quality is surrounding herself with the best possible people to do the
But that's
job.
like a good manager because everybody's like, I feel like there's some people who feel like they need to be able to do everything,
Right.
but the real kind of like skill or talent that you need to be a manager or CEO is being able to delegate and finding the best people for the job, which clearly Susie Wolf knows how
Yeah.
to do. You mentioned Formula One Academy.
Yeah.
I know that you worked with them,
Yeah.
and your content for Formula One Academy is amazing.
Thank you.
For those who don't know what Formula One Academy is, can you give a quick summary of what?
It's the series for female drivers to get into Formula One.
Love that. Female drivers, female empowerment. There's not a lot of female. No, there's non-female drivers. No female drivers in F1.
Motorsport is a very male-dominated team and sport, and it's always been like that from inception. And let's go into simple, basic concepts. Cars, guys.
Yeah.
Like you associate cars with guys. So, yeah, basically it's a very male-dominated sport, and F1 Academy has been like a project from Susie Wolf to actually like introduce more women into the sport. In a very interesting way because it's been very unique. A lot of people have tried it before. There was a series called W Series, which like they had good
Oh,
racing.
the W Series had a team from Caitlyn Jenner, right?
Yeah,
that's what I know.
but like they raced like a few races because then the championship like didn't have any more money to do races.
Okay, well,
Because sometimes it's about rushing. Like the teams not only have the job of actually bringing the money into the sport, but the promoters, F1 Academy,
I see.
they need to find a way to sustain themselves. Broadcasting are the biggest type of contract, and if you don't have broadcasting, then where do you get your money from?
Exactly.
Right?
So how do you think F1 Academy has kind of positioned themselves to be a little different?
Oh, it's been completely different because like Susie understood what W Series wasn't doing right. They didn't launch themselves into being broadcasting right away, but she honed in finding an audience first. Like, are people really interested in this? She got great names from all around the world with the best prospects of female drivers at the time to race in adapted Formula 4 cars. They didn't showcase a single race in broadcast of the first season until the last race. So there was a lot of hype and expectations throughout that. Like, where are the women's going to place? What are the best times? Blah, 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 blah. So she did very good in terms of creating curiosity for the series. And then with the final race of the season for F1 Academy being in the US, she broadcasted that race and found that there is interest for the series. And there's another technical aspect which I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about, but they're not going to do anything to me.
Yeah. You didn't sign an NDA, did you?
No, not at all. But it's like at the end of the day, the money for F1 Academy is sustained by Formula One teams, so they pay for it. Right?
That's a good business plan, I guess.
I mean, depends on how you want to look at it because there's a lot of perspectives on that. because I mean, there's the debate in F1 is paying for it to not have female drivers in it. They're creating a whole series for females,
Interesting,
you
yeah.
know. But on the other side, it's good because there's more exposure to those drivers. And at the end of the day, you need money to be in the sport. If you have broadcasting exposure, if your partners can show their logo on the side of the car, amazing. You know, that's good for the drivers. And it helps in terms of development. So they do like these types of workshops of like media, how to delegate and look for partners. You know, they have like their own workshops, which I'm not very knowledgeable on because I'm not part of the series. I'm more with a team, you know. But I feel like, at least from what you see on the outside, because at the end I'm a fan too, they're doing stuff right, and they are understanding how to get. Because the main problem of females in motorsport is not about. I might get crucifixed because of this. It's not about being a woman or not. It's about numbers.
Yeah.
You know, if you have 1,000 guys competing for racing seats, it's very easy to cherry pick who are the best. But if you have 20 females driving in that same series, it's very difficult to understand who's good or not because there's not a broad range of talent to choose from, right?
Yeah.
So the main mission of F1 Academy, in my perspective, is feeding that pool. Much more drivers. Let's get more people into karting. Let's get more females driving these cars to understand what's the talent there. Right?
Yeah, I think that's like definitely a step in the right direction. What do you, in your opinion and your experience, how do you see the future of F1 Academy?
That one is a very tough question because
Or what would you like to see the future of F1 Academy look like?
It's like the ideal would be to see women. For me, success would mean that, let's put it in a very basic term. The champion of last season, Marta Garcia, is now running in Formula Regional. Way better and much difficult car than what she was driving in F1 Academy. There's 30 drivers around in that series. For me, success for that series is that either Marta Garcia, the champion, or the vice champion, Liam Bueller, who are competing in that series this year, at least get a podium or get into the top 10 points.
Yeah. Question. Okay, because I've seen this on the... I saw it. I'm going to be honest, I'm not really up to date on the news, but I remember Bianca Bustamante was in F1 Academy, and now she's in McLaren?
No, she is in F1 Academy now this season to, again, give visibility and really hone into that fact of, like, let's give opportunities to these female drivers. All of the F1 teams have a car with their livery and a driver with their sponsorship in F1 Academy. So Bianca is managed by McLaren. In the case of MP Motorsport and the drivers I work with, Hamda and Amna Al-Kubaisi, they are Red Bull drivers. So Hamda is a Red Bull driver and Amna is sponsored by RB Cash App.
Oh, okay. RB Cash App, is that the
new team?
AlphaTauri?
It used to be AlphaTauri or Rosso before that. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so you've done a lot in motorsports, Formula E, Formula 1 Academy, F2, F3, F4 as well?
Yeah, I've done basically every single seater supporting series.
Are you interested in then going from Formula 1, 2, 3, 4, Formula 1 Academy, Formula E, to then going to F1?
Definitely. I think like it's a dream for most of the creators in the space and even the people that don't get the opportunity, which I think there's a lot of creators that are very good that simply don't have that unfair advantage to be there. Everything okay?
Yeah, sorry. No, it's fine, it's fine.
Okay. But I would definitely be interested in going to F1. The only thing with F1 is like I feel like when you look at the sport like that, and for example with the background I did, which is like I was a fan as a kid, my granddad was very passionate about, we bonded over these types of races. I want to be in F1 in a specific way. I would just like to be there with a team or a driver. I wouldn't like to be there with a sponsor, with an agency, or supporting. I would just like to be with a team or driver so I can get the access that I need to tell the most authentic stories that I can.
I love that. Oh, yeah, because you've always mentioned that you are a storyteller.
Yeah.
Going back a little bit, You mentioned that you've always been a fan of F1. What really got you into motorsports?
Honestly, it's like I remember Monza 2003, Juan Pablo Montoya. I woke up to my granddad screaming his lungs off, like, "No way, a Colombian's gonna win in F1!" And I just ran into the bedroom because like the screaming was so hysterical, and I just remember celebrating with him because Juan Pablo Montoya, a very good driver at the time, won his first race in Monza, one of like the most iconic circuits that there is in Formula One. And I just remember celebrating and the feeling and the eyes of my granddad
Yeah.
just being super excited about that. It made me fall in love with the sport, and then he taught me everything that had to do with it. And I just remember every Sunday or every 2 weeks just waking up super early, 5 a.m. in Colombia to watch the F1 races, and that really generated like a love for the sport in a sense, because of course it was bonding with my family, but at the end of the day, like sports it's quite unique. A lot of people don't care about it, but I do think like they hold the force of joining people together.
I do feel like those people who are F1 fans are like fans, like super fans, they've been fans for life. So that I find that really interesting, and so that's what got you into.
I feel like to be a fan of Formula One, like you either go fully in or don't, are not a fan at all, because like we've been talking a lot about a lot of subjects within motorsports. I try to put myself in a position of somebody that doesn't know a lot about the sport, and like it's a lot of information to take in about something so simple as cars driving around in circles, you know?
Yeah.
But that aspect, I think it's what makes it interesting, and the politics behind it.
You know
make
what
it
got me
interesting.
into it? First of all, Lizzie. Lizzie, because Javi has been a fan of Formula One since like he was a kid. And he would always, when we started dating, he would always watch Formula One, da da, he's screaming, whatever. But I never really got into it until Lizzie put it kind of like in my perspective. She's like, watch Drive to Survive on Netflix. It's basically like Dance Moms or the Kardashians for men. And I'm like, so I watched it and I'm like, yeah, makes sense because so much drama. Like I feel like, we're I'm not a motorsport expert. I'm not really like, I definitely have my opinion should not be taken seriously. But if we're talking about trying to like get more eyes on Formula One Academy, give them a reality show. Give us the tea. The
Well,
girlies will love it.
It's Formula One is a reality show. It's the Kardashians, but the thing is, like, nobody used to tell those stories behind the paddock, and it's the reason, like, my work, for example, I don't like. A lot of people go to these tracks to just simply go. That feels relaxing.
We just took off the face mask, by the way. Yeah.
But like. A lot of people go to these tracks, and especially a lot of people that do what I do, to just walk the entire circuit, the entire day, grab photos of cars or videos of cars running. I don't like doing that because like it's a piece of metal. It's for me, it's like it's a huge propaganda banner that goes really fast.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. Sponsors need their content, but I like the people behind it. So I think like the most important part is like the people behind the sport, the mechanics, the engineers, the drivers. Like there's a unique set of stories of why everybody that's working there is working there. And in my opinion, like as a fan, I've always would have loved to be a fly in the wall when these events were taking part, and I'm trying to convey that to the different audiences.
But I think that's how you also capture audiences.
Exactly.
Because like I mentioned, the reason I watched it is because they're like, oh, it's Dance Moms for Men. Have you seen like that meme of like Dance Moms who's like on the bottom?
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like literally every week. Yeah. Which team is on the bottom? Which driver is getting their seat taken?
No, I definitely feel it's kind of like how what was this? Tyra Banks, like
America's Next Top Model.
I think it's very similar to America's Next Top Model, because like every weekend there's news, and this is a very fast paced sport. Like every single week there's new tea, there's new drama, there's news, the upgrades, and also like keep in mind the technology of these cars is directly what you see in planes, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
directly what you see in planes. So like Here you have the best engineers in the world, the best mechanics in the world. The best of the best is in Formula One because all of that technology is having an actual use in the real world of some sort. So, like, really understanding and deep diving into the personalities, I think like it's the best. You know?
I would love to see that. But we mentioned that you're a freelancer.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a freelancer and also specifically what it's like to be a freelancer in Spain.
It sucks.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, not being a freelancer, to be honest, like I feel like for the way I am, it has helped me a lot because I've been part of companies in different types of modalities and different size companies, and for me, like I'm just gonna put it into a bottom line. That someone tells you what time do you have to eat, for me it's unacceptable. I don't like that. That you have a lunch break.
Yeah.
No,
The 9 to 5 is not for you.
no, not at all. I like doing stuff at my own pace. I just know, like, I've always had the philosophy: if everything gets done by when it needs to be done, you're fine. Because you don't have to do anything like that. That you need to ask for vacations or stuff like that. I don't like that. So, like, I moved into the freelance lifestyle and I've absolutely loved it because I'm the one that controls my time. I control my clients. There's a huge demand, like, a huge amount of skill that you need to learn or experience, I would rather say, because there's a lot
Yeah.
that you need to get a grips on for to be a freelancer. And I think, like, of course, with the help of my accountant, everything has been amazing on that sense. But it's very difficult because it's very technical, and especially the government in Spain is
Yeah.
horrible.
Because you
when
have
it
like
comes
a
to
quota and it goes up every year.
you have a lot of expenses as a freelancer. It's just for you to work, and then aside from those quotas that you need to fulfill, you gotta find clients.
Yeah.
You know.
You have the quotas, and I believe like is it like then you have to who absorbs the tax?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Hacienda Tributaria, you know?
No, but
It's
like for
just,
example, if you say I'm going to you're negotiating a contract with a potential
right.
client, do you in the price that you give them, are you already accounting for the tax or that will be the price plus tax?
So it's like, think about it as a business, you know? Let's say you go in and buy something online and you have the total price and then it says free shipping, blah, 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 blah. You gotta take all of that into account. Before I used to be very, let's say, dumb with
Yeah.
it because I used to tell exactly my clients, like, okay, this is for traveling, this is for my gear, this is for the media management, because at the end of the day, gear isn't cheap, and technically,
Yeah.
when you're going on a shoot or something like that, those clients are renting your gear. And what happens if that gear gets damaged or something like that,
Oh, that's
you know?
interesting.
There's a lot of cost associated, and insurance. What happens if you make a video that you agree with the client but then it harms the client, let's say? You gotta have an
Interesting.
insurance for that because anything can happen, you know? What happens if you get on an accident on a tracker? There's a lot of little aspects, and like before I used to break down all those costs very let's say very exactly, but nowadays I've understood the importance of making it easier for people.
Okay, so that's really interesting. All of the costs that go behind it, things that you don't even think about. Um, Insurance. I didn't even think about that.
Insurance is super important. It's actually the most important because it's not only one type of insurance, you need like three.
What are the types of insurance that you need?
So the gear,
Yeah.
basically, travel insurance. What happens if you get sick, something happens during an event? Who's going to treat you? If there's an accident, whatever, who covers that? And then finally, as I said, like the track insurance, like what happens if you create a piece of content that you agreed with the client was posted, harms the client in any way, and then the client wants to like kind of press charges based on that. Or
Interesting.
not only the client, let's say the promoter, the series F1, F1
Okay, so this is
Academy,
like
whatever.
legal insurance.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, no, because that's something to think about. So
I didn't used to know it before, and
Yeah.
honestly, like I like the way I got, like I had somebody that was very unkind to me. That Let me just tell you a story. Like there was this
yes, spill it.
mechanic in F Formula E. his dream had always been to be a content creator, and he was very jealous of people who got the opportunities to do it. I got to cover his team, and he was, I'm sorry to say, but he was absolute trash towards me. He was telling the other mechanics, like, cover that guy, don't let him go into the garage, whatever, this, and that. I didn't take it personally at the time, and it was like, sometimes you don't understand the other side of the story, right? Until you do. So I understood that it's because he hadn't had those opportunities, but he got those opportunities with time. He got to quit his mechanic job and started doing a lot of content creation, which is great. I'm happy for him. There's no hate at all towards that person, because we're all here trying to fulfill a dream, right? And like, to try and bond with him, to try and not have such a like hefty relationship, I was like, oh, so let's talk more about the business side. How do you manage it? Blah 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 blah. And he started explaining all this types, because also he did endurance racing, which is like a little bit more dangerous than single seaters, because in single seaters everything's so controlled. But
Yeah.
with GT, like, it's very fast paced. You're in 12-hour races, 24-hour races,
Yeah.
so there's a lot going on. And he mentioned all of those stuff, and I was like, oh shit, I need to do that too. So it's a process of experience. The more you do it, the more you learn, the more you know. And for example, a lot of companies, they are very against you talking about their salaries or your benefits or whatever with other people. But in the freelance world, I feel like it's very important that
Yeah,
you
I
talk
agree so.
about these topics, because like, not everybody knows, and not everybody knows how to get clients, and you got to learn all these processes, because it's a lot of different learning systems. Not only need to be good at photo and video, you got to be good at marketing yourself, you got to be good at selling yourself, you got to be good at networking, and there's like a whole range of skills that come into it, right? And the only way you actually like learn is by living through it and making mistakes.
So would you say this guy who was complete trash to you,
Yeah.
then you ended up befriending him, and he kind of like,
Well, I never befriended
well,
him. I
you
tried.
friendly. You
I
became
tried, but it's
friendly.
like, here's the thing with motorsport. You find all these types of different people, and they have their personalities. Some are very strong personalities, and you cannot do anything to change them, or like to make them understand or make them like you. Not everybody's gonna like you, and that's fine, as long as you don't take it personally, and as long as you understand that what you're doing is a process, especially in a creative field. You get better the more you do it, right? So yeah, it's I did learn it through this person, and he, I think, like, from his perspective, I can understand what it comes down to. But a lot of people don't feel, if they feel like if they help somebody else get an opportunity or learn these
Yeah, I
things,
think it's
taken
like,
away from them.
it's like a literally like dog eat dog world, and I think
Exactly.
like, especially in the freelance community, like you eat what you kill.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but in terms of your freelance work, obviously being a freelancer in Spain is really difficult. Um, I'm just curious about all of your projects and all of your contracts. Are you contracted by F1 Academy? Are you contracted by a team? Are you contracted by a driver? How does that work?
So I currently work, or try to frame myself to work exclusively with teams and drivers. I like to frame myself in that way because, again, I enjoy a lot the storytelling from it. And I'm very privileged that right now I have a very good relationship with MP Motorsport, which, in my opinion, are a great family. Let's put it like that. And they've adopted me
Yeah.
as part of that family. I'm currently only exclusive with them on the paddocks that they race in. So Formula 2, Formula 3, F1 Academy, Freca, Spanish F4, and Eurocup, which I forgot to mention.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very good, and we have like a good deal of set of races, which I think it's very awesome,
Yeah.
because I also know all of the team, and they're great people.
What is it like in the paddock?
It's I think before, when I used to be in Formula E, it was very difficult to get accustomed by it, because I feel like most people, when you see all these drivers that you really admire, and all of you fangirl with,
Yeah, I would.
like, first time I saw Susie, I was like fangirling a bunch, because I was in the HQ in Monaco of the team, and I was like, I can't believe I'm in the same
Monaco.
room as them, talking to them. But like, you get used to that experience. You get used to being surrounded by these types of personalities by a simple fact they're people, they're human beings, they're
Who's
exactly
your
like you.
who's like the favorite your like who is one of the drivers that you had the best experience with in the paddock?
It's like I have several because, like, for example, with MP Motorsport, I do have a lot of drivers that I have a special place in my heart for them,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they're all very unique.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult question to pick because it's like picking your favorite child, and especially as a content creator, you record a lot of
Yeah.
them and their daily life that you already know their quirks, how they are,
Yeah.
even like unspoken things of body language.
Yeah.
You understand how they are.
Is there a specific like memorable moment though, like that you can one that just comes to your head like, "Oh, that was really nice."
It's like I was gonna mention, like, for example, I don't work directly with her, but Emily the host,
Mhm.
if she will kill me, her name's Emily. But I have a very good relationship with her. I feel like every time that I'm in the garage with her, we're talking, chatting about a bunch of different things, and she has a very nice personality. And when she won in Barcelona last year, her first ever win, it, it felt very special.
Yeah, cuz you already made that bond.
Exactly. It felt very special to go see her. But for example, the other two drivers,
Mhm.
Amna and Hamda, I absolutely love. They're great
Mhm.
personalities. They're chatty, super happy, very friendly personalities. I even sometimes feel like I'm overstepping.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
like, I think we're becoming too close friends.
no, I mean, like, not such in the terms of friends, but like I'm following you around. Like, I understand having a camera in front of your
Yeah,
face
yeah.
is nerve wracking, but they've establish that connection, like, listen, we don't mind if it's you, like, just
Mhm.
go and do
That's
what
so
you have to do.
nice.
It's lovely, and especially because you're trying to read the room in
Yeah.
every occasion. I gotta say that, um which other, well, the F1 Academy drivers, I get along very, very good. There's a Spanish driver called Mariboya. I have a very good relationship with him. He's a very fun dude, to be honest, quite crazy, but I no longer get to work with him because he changed teams,
I
but
see.
like he's a very cool guy.
Have you
Uh,
met anyone on the F1 grid?
um, I think I have. I don't remember. It's like once you get used to this type of stuff, you stop
I don't know
idolizing
how
these
because
guys.
I would be like I have a coworker who also used to work for Williams and she would see like Alex Albon all
Yeah.
the time. I'm like, bro, ask him about Lily.
I mean, for example, I got to hang out with Checo. Checo is my favorite driver.
Mm-hmm.
We just exchanged a few words, and it was quite nice with Liam Lawson. I also got to, and Liam I absolutely love because I was like a huge fan of him
Mm-hmm.
in Super Formula Japan. Like, for me, it was amazing how he just got in a car for the first time and was like slapping up people with
Love that.
like years of experience in the series, and he just got in the car the first time and was just like giving them lessons on
Mm-hmm.
how to drive. um I don't know, I feel like I've met a few. George Russell I've met, and yeah.
George Russell.
Yeah, and yeah, but at the end of the day, is like when you're in the supporting categories is very difficult because, like,
Yeah.
you're very separated.
Yeah.
As a you being with the supporting series, you cannot enter the F1 paddock. But yeah, like, I currently don't see a lot of
Yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
the F1 drivers because our paddocks are so separated. And for example, think about the paddocks of F1 and then F2, F3 were in the parking.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
It's literally like that.
Okay. Quick things to kind of wrap up. Favorite F1 driver right now on the grid? You mentioned Checo. Anyone after Checo?
I think like my favorite driver right now on the grid is Alex Albon.
I like him a lot.
I think his personality is amazing.
I
He's
like his
so
girlfriend.
marketable. He is very fast. I'm a big value based guy. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you have good values and whatnot, which you can find a lot in the motorsport, that
Yeah.
they're like differentiating
Mm-hmm.
different morals,
Yeah.
and value systems. But like, I feel like Alex Albon I love at the moment. I think Yuki Tsunoda,
Oh man, he
he's
makes me laugh so much. I love when he yells.
I love him so much. It's been a driver I've had my eyes on, like, for a few years now, and he just keeps impressing me by because he's a regular normal guy that has learned to be mature and understand the opportunities that has been handed to him. Like the definition of like
Character growth.
hard work beats talent. He embodies that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think like okay, sidebar, Yuki has such a beautiful face.
I know.
You know, like so symmetrical.
But
I always look at
Asians have like beautiful skin.
Great
like,
skin, great
oh my
face.
god, it's incredible.
Well, at the time of recording this podcast, the most recent F1 race that just happened was Australia.
Yeah.
Wild. My boy Carlos Sainz, my real boyfriend Carlos Sainz, won. George Russell crashed again.
Have you seen the theory that every time like Martin Brundle, the main commentary, says, "Can you hear the crowd roar?" George Russell crashes. Like it's very funny because they put all the 3 crashes of George Russell, and he's literally in mid sentence when he crashes.
That's so funny.
It's hilarious.
But what did you think about the Australian GP?
And the Australia, Australia is like honestly. I was with my girlfriend, so I didn't watch it. But
well, it was also very early for us in Europe.
I was in the UK, so it's an hour more. You know, so I really liked it. I think like it's refreshing that Carlos Sainz wins. I am a Red Bull fan at the end of the day.
I know.
So I love seeing Max win and Checo doing good. So I don't know. I feel like the season is very competitive at the time. But Red Bull's still the best.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's like my problem with these last 2 seasons with F1 is not that Red Bull's too good, but everybody hasn't improved enough.
Okay, yeah.
And that's my main issue with the sport. Is like at the end of the day, there's a cost cap for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And if the lower budget teams they are not fully using that cost cap, then you'll never be good.
Yeah, that's
Haas F1 right now has like their team principal has very clearly stated like we've been asking for money for more team personnel for years now when we don't have it. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, like it's a lot of politics at the end of the day, and I just feel like it's gonna be an interesting season. I really hope Max wins because he deserves another championship.
I want to see someone else, but that's me.
He's on another level. I just think like this season is kind of like an in-betweener because then next season we will see a lot of changes with F1. The cars are completely different. It's just going to be
it'll be interesting next season, I think.
Well,
well, we don't know. We don't know.
At the end of the day, like I also feel like a lot of people in the sport like they complain that Max wins too much, but like it's always been like this.
Yeah.
Like for everybody that has seen the sport for a long time, Lewis seasons were great. Ayrton Senna, Schumacher, like there's always been rivalries within the sport, but at the end of the day, the best car wins, and that's it. And if you get it right into a certain era of F1, you'll win most of the time. So or at least be on podium most of the time. So I think like let's stay in for the tea and less for the competitive side.
Yeah. Right? Okay. Wrapping up. Sometimes I talk about like a movie or a TV show at the end of the podcast. One recent like motorsport movie that I watched, kind of fresh in my mind, is Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie?
I've seen the movie.
What do you think about it? Because I don't know anything about Gran Turismo. I don't know anything about this driver, and I just watched it because like it looked cool.
I think it's very interesting because the movie, I mean, if you watch motorsport films, in my opinion, most of them suck. Because they don't actually portray what is actually driving a car. Like they have infinite upshifts, so they're upshifting for like most of the race, and you see vroom, 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 and it just doesn't work like that. But Gran Turismo is very realistic on that sense. Even the sound of the cars is like wow, it's very similar. But I'm gonna switch up the topic from Gran Turismo because goddamn, I loved Dune Part 2. Like that's such a perfect movie. You gotta watch it.
I haven't even seen Dune 1 because I keep falling asleep.
I didn't watch Dune 1.
Okay, so just skip Dune 1.
Yeah, I mean, just understand if you have a friend that has watched it, just let him like spoil.
Just watch like a review on
YouTube
and then
Dune 2. Damn, like the cinematography on that movie, how everything looks, it's insane. The special effects, the story, the music is like. For me, it's like artwork. Okay, well, you've sold me. No. I'm going to go watch it. It's amazing. Javi, you know what we're going to do later? We're going to watch it. It's amazing. I definitely recommend it. And I just feel like it's as somebody that does videography and photography, I can appreciate a lot the photography of it, and also like the sound effects of it.
Yeah.
For me, the sound and the like picture is incredible, like out of this world.
Wild.
Yeah. Now, given to that movie, I like stayed an extra day in Jeddah while I was in the.
Oh my God, I forgot to ask you quickly before we finish. What is your favorite work trip?
So far,
Like, which place did you like best? Because you've been to Monaco, you've been to Jeddah.
that's
What
a
is your
tough
favorite
one.
place to go?
Monaco, I hate. It's like the worst place to go. Honestly, infinite stairs. It's so ugly. People are so rude. Like I absolutely hate it. But there's magic to it, right? Like when you are in the race and whatnot, like you feel it's
Yeah.
something very special. I love the Middle East. Goddamn, Jeddah is one of my favorite F1 tracks, and I got to experience it. Loved it. Hated how long it was to get from paddock to paddock because they were so far away. But so far, I'm not sure because it's like now I don't have like that mentality of like, oh, I'm going to travel. I have mini vacations.
You're traveling for work.
I'm going to work, so like my girlfriend nowadays, comes and asks like, "Oh, are you excited about the trip?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm working."
Yeah,
You
you're
know?
thinking like, I'm going to be absolutely exhausted.
No, it's like it's fine. I can visit a lot, but it's for work, you know. Yes, I'm excited, but it's work.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, Morocco with Formula E. I absolutely love the Marrakesh
Really?
Grand. Yeah, Morocco has a special place in my heart. I love Morocco. I love the people. I love the food. I love the weather. I love everything about Morocco. And I think that has been my favorite just because of the exploring aspect, and also it was the last race got to go to in Formula E in season 8. And sometimes when you forget about everything that happens, in terms of like the pressure, the job that you have to do and whatnot, and just enjoy and be present at the moment, you get to do better stuff. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you're happier. So
True.
I've changed my mentality now. It's not about how much work I can put out until I'm like ready to go to rest, but like, am I well rested to do the best work that I can possibly do? And that trip really symbolizes that for me, you know?
Wow. Well, what a great way to end the pod. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. Once again, if you enjoyed this episode, this is an episode of the Comfort Zone podcast. I am April. Our guest today is Aaron Parales. And if you like this, make sure to tune in and listen to more episodes. Follow us on Instagram at The Comfort Zone. And I'll catch you in the next episode.
I'm by the face mask.
Yeah. Bye.